What's up, guys? So people keep asking me what is the best 7-star to summon for and what is the best 7-star in All-Star Tower Defense. And guess what, guys? Since All-Star just buffed a ton of 7-stars, my last video is a little bit outdated, so let's go do it, guys. We're going to be showcasing all of the new 7-stars, the 7-star buffs, and I'll be ranking them all on my tier list. So let's go equip these guys and take a look, and I'll show you guys which 7-stars are worth summoning for. All right, let's get it popping. All right, first up, this one's gonna be a little bit controversial, but I think you guys can listen to my reasoning on the ranking for Metal Cooler, and I think you guys will probably agree with me if you think about it. So let me go through Metal Cooler's stats. Now, Metal Cooler did not get a buff, so we're just gonna speed run what he does. Basically, he has okay damage, nothing too good, okay for raid mode, but look at his max stats, guys. He's really cheap to max, only let's see here, 30k, but you're gonna notice his damage is actually dog awful. So like look at this, guys, 411k for a 7-star. That's terrible, but he does have a self-clan ability. Now this thing spawns 1 per each path, and look at that, guys, 22 million damage, pretty good, and it actually does speed up now with the speed, so you can see that. So that's kind of the latest buff it got. Now the problem with this guy is while he is cracked out in raid mode, he sucks in infinite mode. All right, so because he sucks in infinite mode so badly, all right, we are going to have to unfortunately put him in A tier. So like, he's okay, but you don't actually have to spend your Stardust on him. You can just get carried in raids or beat raids other ways, but he is not a bad unit. But I just don't think I can put an S tier because he's not meta for any single infinite mode in the game. All right, so next up, we have a unit that did get a buff recently. We have our boy Broly. So Broly actually right now, look at his stats. All right, I'll show you the stats real quick. He's really cheap to upgrade. Look at this, really, really cheap for a good amount of damage. Look at that, guys. He's all the way up to, look how cheap it is too. 60k for freaking 5 million damage with no buff. That's what we're talking about. So you could maybe even get away with him in the Hell Raid. Honestly, you know what? I think you could actually. He would slap in the Hell Raid. I'm not gonna lie. This guy is probably Hell Raid meta. If you guys want to see me beat Hell Raid with Broly, let me know, man. That would actually be a pretty dope video. Might actually come out with that. So look at this, guys. He did get a buff. He's actually a raging unit, so his damage is insane, and his damage keeps going up every wave. He's full AoE and hybrid, so he's actually a really, really, really cracked out unit. All right, and of course I recommend him. However, you guys did see his cost. It's very expensive, but because of his insane DPS, I definitely think he's meta for most game modes, so he easily goes into the S tier for me. I definitely recommend to summon him. All right, so next up we have another unit that just sucks. So I'm gonna speed run him, guys. Look at this, look at his stats. They kind of buffed him, I guess, but the buff is so mid, I can't even recommend him. Like, look at this, guys. Like, just use Broly. He's so much better. Look at this. Even though you can place all 8, look at this. Even if you can place all 8, he's still worse than Broly. So like, please, guys, do not summon Vegeta. Do not summon Vegeta. He straight up sucks. I think the only thing that's good about him is you can also use Vegito as well, but please, guys, please do not summon Vegeta. His stats are not worth it. His stats are awful. I'm gonna put him in D tier, guys. I personally think he is one of the worst 7-stars in the game, and unless Vegito gets a buff or he gets another buff, oh my goodness, I can't recommend him at all. But he has cool effects though. All right, let's turn off his effects and we'll check out our boy Piccolo. Why do I keep saying Piccolo? This is not Piccolo, guys. This is Cell. All right, so Cell got a pretty beastly buff recently, and you can see his raid mode stats are actually cracked now. Look how cheap he is to upgrade, guys. Look at this, with 300k for 12. Oh my gosh, that is so good. Here you go, 1.38 million, and all we did was drop 60k on this guy. That is freaking busted OP. So Cell is a highly recommended unit for raid mode, especially the Hell Raid. So I might make a video of him clapping the Hell Raid, but if you guys want to see that, let me know. Full AoE as well, not bad. However, if you max him out, look at these stats, guys. These stats are spicy. They really spiced up his infinite mode stats, and of course you can place 8 of them as well. So he's actually one of the better DPS in the game, but I don't know if he's really meta for anything. And also you're going to notice he does not hit airs. So because I don't technically think he's meta for anything, he doesn't really deserve the A tier in my opinion. So I'll put him, the S tier in my opinion. So I'm going to put him in the A tier. Very good unit. I just don't think he's quite meta. All right, next up, guys, a surprising unit. Guess what? So Naruto did not get a buff, so I'm just going to speedrun Naruto stats. Look how bad they are. All right, nothing. Look at this, guys. 2 million for 7, and look at this, guys. This is literally a crime. 7 million, 2 million. OP AoE, mid AoE. Like, do not bring Naruto. Do not bring Naruto, guys. He is mid as frick. But the one thing that's nice about Naruto is, guess what, guys? If you place him and Sasuke down together, they did actually buff the beast. So look how cheap his upgrades are now. You're going to see this is some pretty decent damage, and he can walk around the map. And you can actually probably use him in raid mode. And look at those max infinite mode stats as well. All right, pretty beastly, not going to lie. So and you can just like walk around the map slapping things. So pretty nice, not gonna lie. So he got a pretty good buff. So I can't complain. But Sasuke, look at this guy. Sasuke, he did not get a buff and he sucks. He's one of the worst Black Flames unit in the game. I'm pretty sure Itachi is doing like 10 times this damage. You can place 8 of them and he does hit airs, but so does Itachi. Itachi is single placement, but he does like freaking 10 times the damage. So please guys, do not bring this guy. He sucks. He does have a cool blessing though. So I'm gonna put Sasuke in the D tier. I'm gonna put Naruto in the D tier. All right, I'd probably say like, I guess technically speaking, it's probably more like, I don't know, maybe like that. But Kurama's actually fairly decent. I'm gonna put Kurama in the A tier. He's actually not that bad of a unit, and I definitely recommend you check him out for raid mode. He can slap. So maybe A tier or B tier, somewhere in between there. But honestly, I don't know. I'll probably put him in B tier. He's a lot better than his counterparts, but I just don't think he's quite meta yet. All right, but he's still pretty good, so his stats are not bad. Let's go check out the next set. All right, here we go, guys. Let's get our boy Diolo. So Diolo sucks now, guys. I'm just gonna speed run him. Look at this, guys. Oh my goodness. The only thing that's good about him, look at his damage. His damage is even mid. I'm pretty sure we have like what's it called, Akasa doing more than him. He does have a pretty cool ability which teleports the enemies back around the track, also time stops them, but his time stop isn't even meta, so you have to bring another unit instead of him. So while he does have a pretty cool attack for like raids and stuff, I really can't recommend him except for gauntlet mode. So for that reason, I don't know, I'm gonna put Diolo in A tier. Like, he's good for gauntlet mode, but like, what else? So I can't really recommend Diolo. He's not that worth it. So he might be meta for infinite mode, but like he's barely worth it. There's just better units out there. So next up we have Princess Apala. I think she's unobtainable right now because they did remove World 3. So she has okay stats. She only has 4 placement. She's one of 2 units that's 4 placement. So you can see you can only place 4. Her and Rimuru. She has some decent stats. Like, look at that full AoE damage, and not too expensive and decent. She used to have good stats, but not anymore. But her claim to fame is Touch of Grace, which removes some of the things. Like, it removes powerfuls and it removes decelerates, but it doesn't remove cloner. So it's basically, she's just like a worse version of Rimuru, but she is good for gauntlet mode. So because she is good for gauntlet mode, I'll put her in B tier, but she is unobtainable now. So hopefully they add a way to get her because she's not that bad. All right, next up we have our boy. All right, Ichigo. So Ichigo there's only one good thing about Ichigo, so I'm just gonna speed run to that. The only good thing about Ichigo is his last upgrade, which look how expensive he is, guys. 12.5 million to max. All right, use Awakening. Now he only hits airs, but look at this, guys. He has the highest Black Flames damage of any unit in the entire game. So basically, if you're in air mode, bring Ichigo. He completely destroys. He does like over 2 billion damage. It's freaking insane, guys. So Ichigo is pretty insanely good. Highly recommend it, but you're going to see if we switch the type to air, he's going to actually attack. And you see he didn't attack before, so now he's going to actually attack. There you go. Look at that cool attack. And yeah, meta for air mode specifically. So you know what? I'll give credit where credit is due. And because he's meta for air mode, easy S tier. All right, next up we have Mob. Now Mob, I do believe, got a damage buff as well. So you're going to see the damage. Not that good for raid mode. Yeah, pretty bad for raid mode, but look at this. He gets a lot of damage. Look, all the way up to 26.2 without leader buff. So that's not bad at all, guys. 12 SPA, and he does hit airs with a pretty decent AoE too. So pretty good unit. Also, Esper Rage is really spicy as well. All right, I'll spawn in a bunch of enemies, and Esper Rage is like 7.5 billion damage. It also has a pretty cool cutscene. All right, here's the cutscene. Okay, looks like the cutscene's slightly bugged. Oh no, it's good. So he has a cool cutscene as well, so pretty sweet. Now Mob is a decent unit. I don't know if he's meta for anything right now. I don't think so, but I'll put him in the A tier because he's definitely a good unit to check out. And somebody can comment down below if he's currently meta for any leaderboards, but as of right now, I don't think he is, but maybe he might be. Actually, I think he might be. You know what? I'll give him some credit. I think he's meta for air leaderboards because you can stack him with, I believe you can stack him with Gojo, but I'm not sure because I know you can stack Sid and Gojo. All right, next up we have Meliodas. Now Meliodas, his stats suck, I'm not gonna lie. You can maybe use him in raid mode. Like, look at this. So raid mode for sure. But what makes him special, guys, is his special move. He becomes hybrid. Also, his disintegration attack instantly takes 60% of the enemy of the HPs away. All right, and it doesn't matter if they're air or whatever, but it just completely does that. So you're gonna see disintegrate. All right, it didn't really work that time, but it's a pretty good attack. It is meta. He is a meta support unit, so easily S tier. And I would say he's meta for pretty much every single mode in the game. So he is S tier, but S tier support. So really good unit. I am actually gonna add a row, all right, for support. So all these S tier units that are support, all right, I do believe they deserve their own row, so you guys can know what's meta for damage, what's meta for support. So I will put him in support tier. Very good support unit. All right, let's go check out the next patch. All right, here we go, guys. So next up, we have Eisen from Gauntlet mode. So Eisen's stats are actually pretty good for story mode, just damage-wise. Look at this. Bang, bang, and still super cheap. And look how much damage he's doing, guys. Full AoE for 1,000,000 damage. Huh, not bad at all, guys. So good DPS. But his infinite mode DPS is definitely lacking a lot, but it's not terrible. But what makes him special, he has 2 abilities. All right, first up, you can rewind. And second up, we'll spawn more enemies. You can take over, which spawns enemies from the back, but it bugged with half the HP of the enemies it took over. But it's a one-time use ability, which is kind of sad. And it only copies up to 10 enemies in the range. So pretty interesting. Now that ability is technically an S tier unit, so I wouldn't really consider an S tier damage unit. He's more of an S tier support unit, and I would say Meliodas is probably more useful than him. But Eisen's also really good for, actually no, Eisen is so good for raids though. So I'll give Eisen some credit. He's better for raids than Meliodas, because Meliodas doesn't work in raids. But for infinite mode, yeah, I don't know. Actually, you know, it's complicated. I don't know. I think Eisen, I would probably get Eisen more so than Meliodas, but Eisen's a free unit, so he's not really hard to get. However, you have to grind Gauntlet mode for hours, but it is what it is, or AFK it. All right, next up we have Zoro. Now, Zoro did get a pretty spicy buff. So look at this, guys. He actually might be usable now in story mode. You know what? I think he actually might be usable. Not as good as other units, but he's usable. Now, look at this, guys. They made him so expensive. You just saw how much he costs. Like, bro, he costs 7.18, but he's hybrid. And look at that damage, guys. I believe he is still he is now the highest bleeding unit in the game, and he's also hybrid as well. So pretty sweet. Now Choso is also bleed full AoE, so that's kind of nice. But I don't think Choso hits airs. I don't remember, but this guy does have the highest bleed damage though in the game, and he does hit airs, so he's a pretty good unit. But again, 14 million is kind of pricey, but he is a meta unit, guys, meta damaging unit. So we'll definitely put him in the S tier. All right, next up we have our boy Deku. So Deku, oh my gosh, he's so mid. But what his claim to fame is he has all these special abilities, and he also is a really weak buff unit. Like, look at this, guys. This is a crime. Look at this buff, guys. 200% buff. Like, we have 300% buff units, man. That's literally a crime. But it does buff range too, so it is what it is. But he has so many abilities. So you can make him hit airs. All right, you can make him slow units. You can make, he's kind of like a jack of all trades. You can make him stun. He's not even time stop. So they kind of did him dirty, not gonna lie. And his max damage isn't even that good. And plus, whenever you max him out, you can then only use his buff ability. None of his other abilities work, which really suck. And that DPS is freaking mid. So I can't really ever recommend bringing Deku. So I'm gonna put Deku in the D tier. All right, not really that good of a unit in my opinion. All right, so next up we have our boy. Oh my goodness. Now this guy's actually usable. So he's actually not that bad for raids. Look at his stats for raid modes. Like, this is actually really good. Plus he's a dark unit. So he's underrated for raids, and he's hybrid. And he has a pretty dang good AoE. Look at that cone. Like, I think he's underrated for raids modes, guys. I'm not gonna lie. Plus he has decay. So what decay does is it's kind of like a really, really weak status effect, but it lasts forever. So it's really nice in that effect, but it does so little damage. You have to really have really slow enemies. But look at this, guys. Honestly, he's kind of underrated for raids, but he's not like meta or anything. So I don't know. I don't think he's a bad unit. And he's the only one with his special ability, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to give him some credit. I'll put him in C tier. I think he's usable, but he definitely gets disrespected a lot. All right, next up we have Tanjiro. Now, Tanjiro has Sunburn. He's also a full AoE, but honestly, in my opinion, he's more of a support unit because Sunburn is like the worst status effect in the game, besides the fact that it does slow the enemies very, very little bit. So that's the one nice thing about him, but his damage is so low, it's not really that meta. So in my opinion, he's technically a support unit and not that good of one either. However, he is pretty nice in raid modes because he starts off with his ability and full AoE. So he does a lot. He packs a big punch on his first upgrade, especially if you give him like the Fire Rage Orb. So that's his saving grace right there. All right, next up we have Gohan. Now Gohan's a pretty simple unit. He's a rage unit, not super expensive, but kind of expensive because you want to place all 8. So that's 2.5 times 8, which is quite a lot. Not gonna lie, that's kind of like one of the more expensive units in the game to max them all out. And his DPS is actually pretty good, but as far as him being meta, I'm not really sure on that one. In my opinion, he's maybe meta, so I'll give him like better than Cell. But personally speaking, I don't think he's the most cracked out unit in the game, but he's not bad. All right, let's go check out our next set of units. But I'm just gonna skip over Mochi. All right, everybody knows Mochi's full AoE slow, so we'll put him in S tier support. Very good. And then we have Griffith, who's he's not full AoE slow, but he has like good damage and slows airs, which is very useful. So I'm just gonna put those in the S tier real quick because you guys already know what they do. All right, here we go, guys. Next up, we have our boy Sid. Sid is cracked out, guys. So what makes Sid so good is he's a money buff unit, so he's great to have in your leader slots. Also, what he does do is he has a really good bleed. Look at that, guys. If he's in your leader slot, 25k bleed with no orbs is crazy. And he's only cost 690 to place, and he's really cheap as well. You can get him some really sick bleed damage in story mode. And he also has a pretty cool ability, Atomic, in story mode, but it's kind of weak. But what makes him really special is, look at this, guy, some pretty high bleed damage. It's about, I would say, 30% lower than Zoro's, and it doesn't hit airs, but it gives him a really good nuke ability that hits all enemies for 7.5 billion. So you can see our damage just skyrocketed. And I believe his nuke is stackable with Gojo as well, so really, really good. Obviously, guys, in my opinion, he's a really, really cracked out unit. I personally think he's better than Zoro. Because of his nuke. So I'm gonna personally probably put him even higher than Broly, because he's actually cracked out for every single raid mode in existence. So if you can get Sid, get him. Obviously, guys, you can get Umbra as well. Umbra is free from Gauntlet mode, so please get Umbra if you can't get Sid. And please stop begging me for the 100% egg, because I'm just gonna tell you to do Gauntlet mode and get it for freaking free. So next up we have Guts. Now Guts did lose some value because we now have Ryuko 6-star. And the thing is, Ryuko 6-star also hits air units. So Guts, I don't really think you should spin for Guts personally. Now, while he is technically meta, he's only slightly better than Ryuko, and he sucks in raid mode. So personally, I think you should save your Stardust and not bother summoning for Guts. All right, I think Guts is kind of outclassed right now, but he is technically S tier though, so we'll give him some credit where credit is due. All right, and I will put him in the S tier, but I'm gonna put him towards the bottom because I think you should just get Ryuko 6-star instead, because she's so much easier to get and doesn't cost any Stardust. All right, next up we have these two units who are now outclassed. All right, I'll show you why they're outclassed, but we have Star King. Now Star King is actually really good in raids, so I'll give him that credit where credit's due. Look at that, 39.5 million, not bad at all. All right, there we go. And then he also has crits though, so his crits basically double his damage effectively, or it's really close to that. And then we have Alien Boss. Now Alien Boss actually is kind of freaking mid, so I can't recommend anybody get Alien Boss because you might as well use this unit right here. All right, I'll show you guys the stack comparison. All right, look at this DPS, guys, 3.1 million, and look at the past DPS, and he's also cheaper to max as well. Oh, I guess it is higher. What? No way. I don't know. I think they might have miscalculated that one, but actually, no, it is right. Huh. So while that is higher, he does have a bunch of other little buddies to help him out. So personally, I would recommend bringing the Path instead. Oh, that's without the orb. No, duh. I was gonna say. All right, so with the orb, it's 1.7 million. So that is slightly less, but it does summon a bunch of random boys as well. So in my opinion, I like this guy better. But you guys can have your opinion. But I guess technically he does deserve A tier. I think Kirito is slightly better though. And I guess we'll put the Path. But actually, I'll showcase the Path later. So I guess I'll eat my words on that one. I would say you might as well bring the Path, but Boros is not bad either. They're pretty much similar. All right, next up we have Cell. I mean, I'm not saying Cell. We have Boo. Boo honestly is okay. I do believe he is unobtainable now. He used to be meta time stop, but now we have Gojo. So his first attack is a time stop, which is the best time stop in the game besides Gojo. And then he has Sleep, which increases the base HP, and he has some pretty decent stats. And he also has a really good money buff as well. So he's actually a pretty dang good unit, guys. But unfortunately, he's no longer meta. In my opinion, I think he's probably more like A tier. I think he's definitely a better A tier unit. But I would probably put him in A tier. Mainly because Gojo's just so much better. All right, next up we have our boy Goku and Vegeta. Do they also have their own nuke that you can use? They are single placement, and their stats are pretty good. Not quite good for raids though, but look at this damage, guys. 36.5 for 11. All right, we'll compare that to Boros, who was 81.6 for 12. So definitely less, but these people come with this pretty nice nuke. So this nuke has to charge up though, which is annoying, but it is a 10 billion damage nuke. So very, very OP. And they do hit airs, so very good unit, guys, as well. I personally think they it's up there with Boros. But you only want one person on your team to bring Vegeta. The rest can probably just bring Boros. And now Vegeta's also fairly expensive as well. Look at this, guys. 12 million to max. So take that into account as well. All right, before we end this next set, I want people to know that Gojo does have a money bonus, but it is only 10%. So he's not bad to have in your first slot, but he's not great. Also, he only buffs perception. And I'll show you guys perception's categories. All right, so he only buffs these units. And let's just say not a lot of these units are meta. So I don't necessarily recommend having him in your leader slot unless you want to bring like Obito, which isn't a bad pool. So if you're responsible for this guy in Obito, that might work. Otherwise, it's gonna be a little bit sus. Also, Old Will and your watch also have that 10% money bonus. All right, here we go, guys. Let's get it started with our boy Luffy. Luffy's also really good. He's really good for raid modes because you can stack him with God Zamasu, Navy X Flames code unit, to turn all the enemies into dark elements, and then this guy does triple damage, so that's pretty busted. And you're gonna see he's really good for a raid mode. Look at those stats for raid mode, guys. He's gonna pretty much annihilate any raid mode boss if you have God Zamasu. He does have 2 cool abilities, and he does do some decent DPS, and he also is hybrid as well, which is really nice. So he has a 25% nuke, which is really useful because it's 25% no matter how high the HP is. And technically, guys, this is how you can get the highest amount of damage in the game. So let me show you what I mean, guys. So we're gonna go crank this all the way up to the top. Right, I'm not sure how high this goes. I don't know if we can get in like the trillions or the gazillions or what we can get into, but let's see how high we can get this damage off the charts. All right, there we go. And I'll show you guys exactly how to get insane amounts of damage. So let's go all the way up here. Okay, I don't know how much this is right now, but hopefully it's like a few gazillion. So we'll go up 2 more decimal points. Oh wait, never mind. It's making a stop all the way up here. So we'll go up a little bit higher. And there we go. Okay, I don't know how much this is, but hopefully it's a lot. So we'll spawn in a ton of enemies. And then guess what we're gonna do, guys? We're gonna go nuke them. And there we go, guys. You just saw we got a ton of damage right there, just from a few enemies. And if we could have made this go higher, it would have done even more. So now we have to speedrun the showcase because we're about to die once these enemies reach the... Actually, we might survive. Anyways, so next up we have our boy Poochie, which has 2 cool abilities. So, and some pretty decent stats as well. I think he also might buff money, but basically his time acceleration, any status effects, once you click that button, will instantly apply. So that's pretty cool. So for example, you have Yamamoto, and then you click time acceleration, and it's going to accelerate those instantly and do a ton of damage. So really OP. And I think it is technically a global cooldown though, which does suck. Yamamoto, and he also has another ability as well, guys, Universe Reset, which teleports all of the enemies to the front of the map. But if you see right here, guys, it also returns their health to 100%, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. But I would say Luffy, technically he's more of a support unit, so I would say he's S tier support, but he has some good damage as well. And Poochie is also S tier support, guys. He gets you like +5 waves. It's freaking busted, guys. I definitely recommend getting your hands on Poochie. All right, next up we have our boy Yamamoto, who is one of the best burn units in the game. He is cracked out for raid mode because what other unit can you get with this much damage for that price? Not many. He's full AoE as well, and he has multiple abilities. So you can go east, which makes him a cone AoE with some good DPS. You can make him west, which makes him I think that makes him spawn enemies in. I'm trying to remember what this does. I think that makes him spawn enemies in with his current heli HP. Let me check. Oh no, maybe this one is the one that makes him air. All right, then we got south. All right, this is the one that makes him single target, and I believe this one's the one that makes him spawn enemies every 45 seconds. So we'll go triple game speed, and hopefully he should spawn in an enemy soon. But it does make him single target, yeah. But you're gonna see 20.8 million on his damage, 20.8 million on this one. So if you buff him, etc., it'll increase the skeleton's HP. And also, guys, apparently the skeletons do something special whenever they hit the enemy. So we'll check out. Apparently they explode and burn the enemy. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna sell Yamamoto, and we're gonna see exactly what these skeletons do whenever they hit the enemy. And I'm also gonna turn off Luffy's effects. So yeah, apparently they do something special. So let's see, it's gonna hit the enemy and apparently it explodes. Yeah, you see it explodes and burns the enemy. So that's kind of nice. And it burned all of them, guys, you can see. So it is a pretty cool effect. All right, okay, we're about to die. So let's go switch it back. So next up we have this guy. He does an insane buff, guys. All right, that's basically his gist. He does an insane buff and he has some decent DPS too, but he's really expensive. So that's what's up with him. Meta buff unit. All right, he gets 300% buff and range buff, so the best buff unit in the game. All right, next up we have Pain. All right, / Nagato. He has some decent stats, and he's really good for raid mode because he spawns all these guys for only 4.5k. And he has a pretty nice attack as well with one of the highest damages in the game. Look at that, guys. Pretty nice AoE, and it hits airs too. And he has all these friends that help add on to the DPS. So an extra million DPS there. Extra million DPS there. So he's actually really busted. And then this guy also heals the base as well. So in my opinion, this makes him better than Boros. So I think he's one of the better 7 stars in the game. And then lastly, we have our boy Gojo. So Gojo, actually, you can place 8 of him. So if you technically, he has the highest DPS in the game, factoring in his ability as well, which is pretty cool. But you can't really max all of them out because they cost so much. All right, and he has 2 abilities. So his first ability is actually just a normal time stop. And it's really cheap too. It only costs you like, what, 40k for time stop? And it time stops airs too. Also becomes hybrid, which is really nice. So meta for every mode. And then he has Final Domain Finisher. So what Final Domain Finisher does is it's going to... yeah, it's going to time stop them for 60 seconds, and it also nukes them as well. So that's a pretty cool ability. You can see how long they're time stop for. It's apparently 60 seconds, so like one of the longest in the game. So really, really cracked out. So let's go rank out these units, guys. So Yamamoto is S tier, one of the best burn units in the game. Very good. Honestly, in my opinion, he might even be better than Zoro. All right, Path, in my opinion, he's a really good unit. Highly recommended as well. Honestly, I don't know if he's as good as Yamamoto, but he's actually pretty up there. I honestly might say he's one of the best in the game. So I definitely recommend bringing him if you can, and if you have the money units to afford all of him. All right, your watch is basically the best buff unit in the game, guys. So definitely bring your watch. But he's not actually as important as you think. You can always bring Idol instead, and you honestly not even get that much lower of a wave. And Gojo, guys, is the best support unit in the game. Not only is he a nuke and a time stop, he also has good DPS, and his nuke is reusable. All right, every other nuke in the game is not reusable. That's like does over a few trillion, but his, you can use it as soon as the cooldown comes back. So Gojo, in my opinion, is basically the best unit in the game, but I don't think he technically counts in the S tier because he's not really a damaging unit. He is technically a support unit, but he is a nuke unit. So in my opinion, I think Gojo should go in the top, so we'll just put him there, guys. I think Gojo is definitely the new best unit. So let me know what you guys think about my tier list and comment down below any changes you would make.